Welcome to the Wrestling Whisperer podcast and my recap of WWE's Clash at the Castle, and we're also going to review TNA's Against All Odds. Got the chance to go and watch both pay-per-views over the weekend, but I figured I'd go ahead and add the Against All Odds recap into this episode instead of putting it into a Supporters Club episode. But either which way, Clash at the Castle. Got to watch it while I was doing the Uber work, and they really sandwiched the championship matches. I'm okay with. They gave 27 minutes plus to Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. So the thing is this. Not so much I'm worried about the match. Okay. And a very good match. And the setup for the I Quit where AJ Styles is handcuffed with the same handcuffs he used on Cody Rhodes. And then Cody's going to come in with a pair of metal staircases to throw at him. Yeah, that's enough. And AJ decided to go ahead and quit. So that's done. And basically that storyline should be done. But the next plan was, the angle they decided to go out with was the bloodline. The Bizarro bloodline. The bootleg bloodline. Whatever you want. Because it's true. I mean, this is not even close to what the bloodline is. Like, I really felt like what they've been doing to the bloodline storyline, you know, I know it's a mutiny, but really, what have they really done so far? So now what's going to happen is that you have the bloodline now confronting Cody Rhodes and then Randy Orton returning back from Friday night and Kevin Owens. Now I'm going to probably have a 6-man tag for Money in the Bank. That's what it looks like to me. And then I guess, do we get the bloodline then confronting with Solo Sikoa, eventually going after Cody Rhodes? Is that what the plan is? I mean, I guess that's what it is. But I mean, so far the bloodline has done nothing. Now, the talk is that there's going to be another member of the bloodline kind of adding in, and Hikuleo is supposed to be coming in with a different name. Hikuleo, 6'8", the taller of the three sons of Haku, or Mang, I like to call him, because he is the monster Mang from WCW. And, you know, to decide to go ahead and bring these folks in, so far, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and then bringing in Hikuleo, and that whole group together, you know, they haven't really done much. We haven't seen a lot of singles matches with them. They're just more goons or henchmen than they are anything else. And Solo Sikoa has been let down by so many things, and he continues to go ahead and bully and chastise Paul Heyman. That's it. But like, this is nothing like what the bloodline was before anyway. There's nothing about it that even comes close to it. So, I mean, this story hasn't really gone anywhere where I really care. Like, the thing is, what kind of damage has the bloodline done so far since Roman Reigns stepped away after WrestleMania? What has that really happened? Oh, so, you know, there's been claims that now Solo Sikoa is head of the table, that Tama Tonga is the right-hand man. You know, eventually the wise man is going to get kicked out. Okay, so it's positioning for something that could be quickly taken away once Roman Reigns comes back, whatever that is. But to do all this right now underneath the guys that, oh, this is still the bloodline, it really isn't. It really isn't, because it's just like, you know, we're not really going anywhere with this. No Usos, no Roman Reigns, which is the initial part of the bloodline. And to think that Solo Sikoa, you know, decides to go ahead and take this over, I haven't had enough time to really absorb where Solo Sikoa has really talked about why he's done this. Like, obviously we know the reason why, but like, I need something more where Solo Sikoa actually starts talking and starts building up the fact that the bloodline was weak, Roman was weak, the Usos were weak, and this all fell apart. And it's time for me and my Tongan brothers to come and build this back up, to rebuild this bloodline and bring it prominent again. That we don't need the Roman Reigns. We don't need the Usos. I need a promo that explains that. I need several promos to do that. But it's not happening yet. Instead, they're just being disruptors, so to speak. And they really haven't done anything at all. They have not claimed any belts. They have gone after any belts. Nothing. So what good have they been so far? Like, give me the reason here. I understand. We're not going to go into Cody with another title run because there is nobody else at the moment that you feel like they can have that could have another match with Cody Rhodes. Like, what's your next contender? Who's your next challenger outside of AJ Styles? AJ's out of the mix now. Okay, they did it in 2 matches. The build up to the match I didn't like because they decided to go back to Mark Henry once again. So yeah, stir up shit with Cody Rhodes, you get a title shot. Come on. Does it really have to be that way? Is that eventually what's going to happen with Solo Sikoa? Are we going to actually see Solo Sikoa go after Cody Rhodes for the Universal WWE Championship? Is that going to happen? I don't know. But you haven't given me anything to make me feel like Solo Sikoa has done anything at all. Except just be, a brat. Bringing in some new friends into this crew. And they've done nothing yet. Like, where's the proof of them doing anything that really makes a difference? Have they really run amok on people? Oh, they took out Randy Orton, and he's back now. They've been going after Kevin Owens, and okay, he still keeps coming around. Like, you haven't done anything with anybody yet. They're just kind of here, and nothing else has happened. So, like, what are we doing here? And they decide, okay, we're just going to go ahead and let this 6-man tag happen because, we're just going to put them together. Easy fix. Okay, so you have these 6 to play with each other now, leading up to things. Now, are we going to see some individual matches? Like, let's kind of mix and match here, huh? Like, are we going to see Tama Tonga, Kevin Owens, Tonga Loa, Randy Orton, Cody, and what are we going to do here? Are we getting tag teams? Are we getting what? But eventually, it's got to be a 6-man tag going in the Money in the Bank. I guess that's the next thing you got to do, right? I mean, what else is there? So that's what we got. I'm not necessarily wild about it because Bloodline has not been built up to anything yet. They have done nothing. Absolutely nothing. And if you want me to care, like with all the time that the Bloodlines had when the Usos came out together as a tag team, or Roman Reigns coming out with the Bloodline, always talk time. But really, they're not saying much. Like, oh, okay, everything's been established now. All right, you got your establishing of the folks. You're going to get Hikuleo coming in as the 4th member. Now what? Now what? Because, okay, all these guys, what are they here for? Give me some answers here. Like, build me a story. Come on. What are we waiting for here? But like I said, Cody getting an amazing pop from this crowd in Glasgow, Scotland tonight. By the way, the crowd, once again, when you have a story like an AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes match, yeah, you want to, pair 2 good matches, sandwich them in the middle of the rest of the pay-per-view that was just like, because, everything else in the middle, besides the 2 heavyweight championship matches, the Undisputed WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship, those obviously would have done well anywhere else. Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, probably, I guess. But really, like the response that this Glasgow, Scotland crowd, so hungry to have action here, and the way they respond, it just goes to show you that the American crowds, and really, when I talk about fickle, close-minded, narrow-minded fans of WWE, right? They don't care about whatever happens in other companies. Oh, because now that TNA is working with NXT, we're going to care about TNA for a little bit, huh? Okay. And then they're not going to care about anything else. The fact that when you have the stars you brought out here, a lot of featured stars of NXT UK that were part of what was going on tonight in the middle of the card. The thing is that, okay, it's one thing to have where Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, established, Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, veterans, been around forever. It's one thing for that. But it's like everything else in the middle. You got to say to yourself that this crowd, sure, you got some Scottish stars in the matches and that everybody all got caught up on that. That's great. But then other than that, the American fans can never or will never reach the level of adulation and respond to matches with the hooliganism they give, okay? They're like a soccer crowd. They just don't have anything they can do to go ahead and sustain that kind of momentum or enthusiasm or excitement. American crowds don't have what these people here, what Saudi Arabia does, what France has done, what Puerto Rico's done, what, wherever. Germany, I'm sure they're going to have the same thing in Berlin. Watch out. So like Wales, all this. And I think that's something that you got to understand. And even Canada is going to have a better crowd to do things with as well. The same thing goes. But it says it a testament of the die-hard, or even the casual WWE fans that go to American shows. Do you understand they're putting the wool over your eyes right now? The fact that, this card with all these matches, right? They're not going to put it here. They don't care. If they can go worldwide and go out for it, they needed to do that because they needed to have crowds that were actually going to respond. Because some of the times they go to crowds in either Denver or Providence or Corpus Christi or Laredo or, Greenville, South Carolina or Columbus, Ohio. They just had to stop doing it. So, yeah, all you're going to get are TV shows. And you're going to get your matches. Okay, there you go. But you're not going to get your pay-per-views. Like the big matches, you're not going to get those. Or unless you go pay some big money at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Pretty much. Because other than that, as I say, what does help these pay-per-views are those crowds. Because the crowds make up for the lack of creativity, the lack of build, the lack of heat that any of these matches have. Remember, some of the heat that they have in certain matches here, they're not built from anything else, okay? In Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, it's obvious. Real obvious with AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes, okay, look at the testament of the crowd that's out there. Cody's entrance theme, word for word sung. What, 3 or 4 times? I think AEW crowds used to do that when Cody came out. WWE crowds? No, they wait for the whoa. Or maybe get to the chorus. Maybe that's it. But these fans are so intuitive and so smart to the game. They know it like it's a concert. They know every freaking word. All of it. And that should really put a damper on you fans out here that come out to these shows or also come on here online and get so bitter. Because these folks right here, overseas, whenever they go overseas to do a show, and look at how excited and amazed they are. Those are actual fans. Okay? And they probably saw ICW where Piper Niven worked at. Or even where Drew McIntyre worked at. Or World of Sport. Or whatever there is. Revolution Pro. They probably have gone to those shows. Are actually proper fans. Proper fans. Meanwhile, WWE fans, coddled. You are narrow-minded. Not all of you, but many. And the fact that you also want to go ahead and take shots at opposing promotions. Because it makes you feel good. See, that's the kind of fandom I don't want. I don't like that kind of fandom. But that stuff seeps into the underbelly of what is social media of wrestling. Okay? X, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. I mean, and that's the part that really just gives me, doesn't give me any peace. I just feel like I can't handle everyone feeling so upset and so caught up in all this. Because it sucks. But people really just feel like, well, that's just the way they are and that's how they feel. And, you're amazed by these crowds, but yet the crowds that you have, like this is, America, whatever, is spoiled because you don't get to appreciate. And, the thing is, you're not going to help so much with certain stars to get them up to where they are. And listen, even with the certain stars that were out there that really didn't get much of a play because you could tell they didn't because, WWE's not done a good job of getting them built up and becoming something important. When you look at Unholy Union, Alba Fyre, Isla Dawn, Scottish. That's it. Hometown pop. Home country pop. That's all they get. Otherwise, they don't get anything. Unholy Union, nothing. Nothing. At all. Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill look like $1 million. Look like a dazzling tag team, like just, dominant. So to see here where, by the way, do we had to have Jade Cargill take the pin? That's the part that really bothers me. Why did Jade Cargill take the pin? You couldn't have given it to Zoey or Shayna. Like, we should have had it where neither Bianca nor Jade got pinned, but we pinned Jade. on a fluke. And that was bothersome. 12 minutes for that match. I didn't like it, the fact that was the way that it turned out. And by the way, Bianca and Jade are just fine. So they're just going to leave that alone? They're not going to be upset? I mean, are we going to hear anything about Jade that she was able to get taken like that so easily? Is Bianca going to go ahead and chastise or goat to Jade as to why things happened the way they did? We're just going to leave it flat like that. And the fact is, we're just going to let the Scottish crowd be happy with the fact that, okay, these two stars that really don't even really have much of a care about, they're just like, okay, Scottish people, yay. That's pretty much the pop they got. Oh, they got nothing else. Because we know who the stars of this women's tag team title match was. It was Bianca and Jade. Now, like I said, Cody Rhodes, over the top, getting praised and getting, not just the fact that they were doing, his song, but also, using the song Daddy Cool by Boney M. And then just using Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, and then the same thing with Sami Zayn. And when they could use it, they could use it. Or they'd use a different song for somebody else. And it's obvious. Sami Zayn, super over, everywhere he goes. The other thing I want to make mention of is this. I know I've been complaining the last couple of weeks about Sami Zayn and why he's getting himself involved so much into the Alpha Academy. Now, help me if I'm wrong, if I missed it. But was there a time where Sami Zayn actually said something to the effect of, I know that I was an honorary Uso of the bloodline, and then I realized I was doing something wrong, and I wish I had somebody like me doing what I'm trying to do for you, Otis, or Maxine, or Akira Tozawa, which Akira Tozawa was not even there. But to see that go on, and that Sami Zayn, after maybe a month, 6 weeks after they built things up for Gunther and Sami Zayn, that was the setup for the IC title match at WrestleMania. Remember, Michael Cole's done a very good job. He said it several times in commentary. During pay-per-views or on television, he has made it very clear. We know why Chad Gable did what he did by taking on Sami Zayn into his hole, and because of wanting to go and train to feel like once he wins the IC title, he's the weaker opponent. Got it. That's been very clear. And then we get to the point where Sami Zayn just feels like helping. But I need that little extra unguent of saying, okay, explain why you're doing it. It's what happened to the bloodline, right? Or when you've had friends, and if you don't help out your friends, you see what happens to them. Same thing with Kevin Owens. Like, okay, then let's do that. Let's say that, please. Like, give me some, let's, tie up some loose ends here in the storyline. Let's make the reason, because I don't want my babyface to look so stupid, okay? Now, Cody Rhodes, for the credit, even though he got, jilted by the whole Mark Henry style promo that really good, and the angle that was done just like AJ Styles did, to repeat it, to get Cody to go back and do another match with AJ Styles. Got it. But at least Cody, in the end, when he was able to go and take out AJ Styles, he basically fought fire with fire and went just as hard at AJ Styles to win. So Cody comes out as a strong babyface. Perfect. That's how you book him. Sami Zayn, he's looked like an idiot because he's gotten himself caught in this here without explaining why. And then he's gotten the back end of some bad, stuff happening to him as well. And the only reason that everything kind of worked out this time around for him in this match is because he was hoping that Maxine would use the IC title that Chad Gable took off of the little mantle thing. And when Maxine would not go ahead and swing it at Sami Zayn at an opportune moment. And then when she doesn't, and of course we see Chad Gable making, Maxine Dupri, who's like so submissive here, and so like, caught under like a spell of like she can't do wrong and just has to be overly apologetic. Feels, I don't like it. I just don't like it. And the fact is like, okay, so Maxine doesn't have like a, can't kind of like push back a little bit. Like, why is she completely just, vulnerable? That's the part I don't get, that part. Like Chad Gable, to go and be able to talk like that to her, that's a little too much for me. Because it's very old fashioned. Let's just say that too. And so Otis to the rescue. And then Otis, all he does is, okay, he's going to confront when he starts reacting towards Maxine. But then Otis does nothing. We don't get the payoff of Otis turning on Chad Gable here. No, we didn't get that. Instead, Otis, there's the attack where Maxine gets injured, re-injuring her leg, and then, Otis will carry her back. So the whole damsel in distress stuff. And that's how Otis goes away. And then Chad, loses. But still, Sami Zayn still looks weak in this storyline. It sounds like we don't even have an answer to this yet. I mean, honestly, I feel like they're going to probably go another round with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. I see it happening. And why? Oh, I mean, they're not going to give anybody else to them. It's like, I really feel like that's what they're going to do, right? That sucks. It's horrible. Now, we go and move on into Bayley and Piper Niven. Nothing wrong with Piper Niven. I got no problem with her. But they really have not done anything with her to build back up. Triple H and the folks there, they really believed that everybody was watching NXT the whole time, and watching NXT UK in more particular, to get ourselves involved with Piper Niven. Let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago they switched her back from Doudrop. Okay, and then also, we're going to keep the Piper Niven that was in ICW, that's been working throughout, Europe, before she came to NXT UK. So we're going to keep that character the same. Because there's a core group of people that used to watch NXT UK, or used to watch a little bit of her and knew of her, but wouldn't watch NXT UK, but would see her if she was on NXT, right? But they would see nothing else. They've not done anything to build up Piper Niven. Let me tell you like this. Okay, for instance, all right, here's Nikki Cross, another European, right? Another girl from, I don't think she's from Scotland or Ireland or whatever. But either which way, you can think with Nikki Cross, man, they did a lot of work with her because they gave her the superhero gimmick. They gave her the sanity gimmick. And there was a lot more of the crazy and all this, right? They did everything to her. There was more of a build to her than there is Piper Niven. And by the way, the only thing with Piper Niven we know of is that it's the latest person that Chelsea Green's now got herself attached to. That's it. That Chelsea Green just adds some color, some vibrancy to this Piper Niven character who's just like, big tough girl. That's it. And it's nothing about Piper Niven. Like the fact that they only gave her one chance to go do a promo prior to the event, prior to this match, coming into it. I mean, Bayley's just given some people that just have not been out there. It's whatever. The setup right now with we have. I mean, is there anybody else for Bayley to go after? I don't know, but Piper Niven was never given a proper build on the main roster. I'm not saying, and the thing is, we have to say that. If we're going to have stars and we're going to build up into matches, for Unholy Union, Alba Fyre, Isla Dawn, how about a build on the main roster? An actual momentum for them to keep winning and winning and winning and just realize, okay, they are due tag title shots. But we didn't get that here. Same thing with Piper Niven. Just not anything being said to deserve or just to kind of warrant it. Can we legitimize these people before we get them up into title shots here? Or to give them featured feuds? Let's do something here. Give me a vested interest in these stars. I want that. I don't think it's that much to ask. Finally, World Heavyweight title match. So no Judgment Day to speak of. Banned from ringside, which actually that was really nice to have that clean look to it. And Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre tore it up. Great match. I really enjoyed it. A lot of great finishes, false finishes here. Drew McIntyre was so over. And, when you think about the fact that, okay, they decided to put Cody and AJ, Undisputed Universal title, you put it out first and then let Drew McIntyre in his title shot to close out. Could have very well thought we're going to go ahead and get a happy finish with Drew McIntyre taking the belt. I mean, we could have thought in the back of our minds, as I said before in previous episodes, when CM Punk comes back from injury, do Drew McIntyre and CM Punk need a belt to fight over? No, not at all. What you've actually done is, that was the part that was kind of surprising, is the fact that with Damian Priest, he retains the World Heavyweight title, but it is so overshadowed by the fact that we get CM Punk taking an opportunity. I don't even know why it was that he had a referee's uniform in the first place, but okay, the referee gets knocked out. He gets bumped. And then after the bump, CM Punk comes out to take the pinfall, call a 2 count. When we see him come in the ring, we don't see CM Punk. We can't tell unless you notice the Air Jordans right off the bat or his haircut. And that's where I saw the haircut. I was like, oh, wait. When he stopped the count, okay. And then the Air Jordans, yeah, that was a tell. Was that enough for a tell for everybody else? I mean, would they have liked to see CM Punk show his face once he comes in? I guess not. I mean, the way they kind of did it, yeah, okay. And after the 2 count, we see CM Punk, and then he gives the 2 sign, and that's it. And then the low blow, and that's enough for Damian Priest to get the win. Okay. So Damian Priest comes away with the win, continues to be champ. Great for him. Because I didn't want to go and see him lose the belt like that right away. But we're hearing in the post-show press conference, we still don't know when CM Punk's coming back. We don't know when he's getting cleared. So the Drew McIntyre CM Punk match, this is just a feud that kind of like just lurks around, but we're getting nothing out of it. Except some promos this week, I guess, on Monday. That's about it. But nothing else. And like Drew McIntyre CM Punk, yeah, you've built up a pretty good heat for a match that hasn't happened yet, or not even scheduled yet. I know they wanted to do it. I mean, obviously, if CM Punk was able to come out and do what he did in the ring tonight, tells me that he's going to get cleared pretty soon. I guess he's going to be ready to go. And I imagine they're going to probably plan to put McIntyre and Punk at SummerSlam. Great. Sounds like a plan. And you start a program with them right then and there. A program that's already been kind of started since going back to, January, right? I mean, just after Survivor Series. So it was January, wasn't it? So, I mean, we've gone all year with this. And now we're going to get to the point of SummerSlam. And you give us a big McIntyre punt. That's a great storyline to go in. That's a great feud to go and have in the middle of the main events. But again, it's an example of let's see a feud that doesn't require a belt. And CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will be the example of a real big featured feud without a title. Because obviously, it still comes to the fact that, the creative wants to go ahead and work on those with titles. They keep wanting to go that route. Okay. If that's what they want to do. Pay-per-view was still pretty good, though, nevertheless. Like I said, I just have some qualms about the booking and the lead up to it, the build up to it. I mean, how many times have I complained before with Vince back, 2017, 2018, 2019? The build to matches. The matches were going to be good, but the build-ups were shit. And the heat building up to them were shit. We're kind of getting that right now. And also, some of the folks that are getting the title shots, I don't get that either. And the way we're going to kind of set things up after the fact, I don't get that part either. But, Raw should be interesting on Monday because they should start off with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, obviously. And then we move along and see what happens with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. That'll come up with that too because, the Chad Gable thing right now with Alpha Academy, trying to keep that together. So, Chad's going to go ahead and chastise the group again. Like, how many more times do we need to wait for Otis to do something if he's going to? Because he hasn't done anything yet. And, there's not an explanation as to why. Like, is Otis staying around because of the fact that if he doesn't stay around, then Maxine and Kira Tozawa are going to get abused because of Chad? Okay, then let's explain that. I mean, can we get a point where Otis actually talks to Maxine and Tozawa and they kind of talk where there's no Chad Gable and there's a realization what, we need to get out of here. It's just like it's an abusive relationship. We need to get out of this. We need to have a plan. The whole point is that I need to have something here where Otis has a backbone or a spine. It's obvious we know that Chad Gable is not as big formidably or physically as Otis is. Otis can just go ahead and just squash on him, but he hasn't done that yet. And by the way, if we're going to go to Otis right now, Otis explains backstage that, okay, he lost his Money in the Bank. He lost his Peach when he met Mandy Rose. Okay. So all that, and he feels like a failure. He lost, Tucker. And that was all explained in a promo this week. That's fine. We got that established there. But now give me the part where Otis needs to go ahead and try to work with the others because they need to start realizing we need to get out of this. and that Otis actually says something, that there's like some kind of expression to it. But nothing from the Alpha Academy. It's like they're not even able to talk. We can't hear them talk. Like, we need something there to kind of like give, where Otis hasn't decided to pull the trigger on Chad Gable. Why? Because the other part was, I forgot somebody saying, like, what is it that Chad Gable has on Otis? Have we gotten that answer yet? Like, why is it that Otis will not surrender and will not just beat down Chad Gable? Is there an explanation to it? I don't want to care about the Alpha Academy storyline if I don't have a storyline to care about, because that's the problem. You're leaving loose ends. We have holes in the script. Let's patch them up. If you're going to give me these storylines, listen, I'm all with storylines. I am all with the fact that if you want to have the Johnny Garganos and Tommaso Ciampas, confront Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, and make Austin Theory go ahead and try to split off. Okay. But you want to give me a reason why DIY is getting title shots, or why they're kind of considering they're going to be getting title shots when they've been losing more than they've won? Okay. Like, we're just creating some kind of logic of the fact that, the way was a thing before with Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory, and we're going to kind of like just, pull them together? Are we going to explain that? Because I don't get that either. It's like there's nothing there. The Wyatt 6, we start seeing the continuation of more disruptions on camera, but that nothing else is going on. Nothing else is happening. It's just there. Like, let's start working on things. What are we so hesitant about? Start a storyline. There's a couple of holes in the storyline. Let's patch them up. Let's put some things together. You got lots of time to go ahead and cover it. 3 damn hours. And then there's some times where you feel like the show's getting rushed at the end. Come on. Can it be that hard? Do we have to have certain matches go 15 to 20 minutes when we could take about 5 minutes off a match that's super long, that's going to go 3-4 commercial breaks? Can we take about 5 minutes worth of that to kind of go ahead and patch up a couple of storylines that might have some holes in them, that might help to go ahead and build the plot? Okay. And also build some stars when they're getting winning streaks. Let's go ahead and build them up to become like, hey, somebody's on a streak here. Somebody's on a run right here. Somebody's starting to get a push. Let's see that. And when they get the push, let's get them going somewhere. SmackDown, I was so disappointed watching where I see Carmelo Hayes. Oh, he's getting out there talking on some camera, whatever, trying to build things up. And like, nobody cares in Scotland. Nobody cares. And I look at some of the other stars they have that were like just kind of roaming around the back. And like, I'm trying to care about what they're doing. When they're trying to bring some stars in and like, okay, let's see if they're going to do anything. Because I'm trying here, man. I'm trying so hard. But when I look at what they're doing here, okay, Apollo Crews dealing with Legado del Fantasma, and we're going to set things up. And Baron Corbin, what? So we get some insta thing with Corbin and Legado del Fantasma, right? I mean, that's going back to NXT. And then we move along with Logan Paul, LA Knight, and I'm like, oh, LA Knight all of a sudden just is able to go in and come to Puerto Rico and be in, Logan Paul's pool. But he's just in the pool. He hasn't done anything in the house. He's done anything to vandalize. He's done nothing to kind of like really piss him off except, trespass. That's it. Not much heat to that. So LA Knight's just being a jerk more than anything else. Like, I mean, Logan Paul doesn't feel like the face right now in that feud. Not to me, anyway. Like I said, Alba Fyre, Isla Dawn, they got a chance to go ahead and set things up for their match on SmackDown. And like, oh, they're going to be champions. Okay, da-da-da. And there's just other, like, you see stars that'll be just popping up everywhere that, are they going to be caring about it at all? Like, are we going to be just, like, interested? Because some of these younger stars are trying to bring up on board, right? From Carmelo Hayes to Kiana James to like, oh, man. That you're trying. But, like, it's not going to be that hard if you give me some actual stories for some of these stars to be built up. And to build something on top of what they are in NXT. Why are we just assuming that we're going to care about what they did at NXT and not give any storylines of the main roster for them at all? Like, you have to start, they have to be starting over again. Okay? You can't just take what they did at NXT and not even use what happened at NXT as a barrier or as a build-up to kind of go into what's going on in the main roster. Like, to help establish who they are. You're just assuming that everybody knows because everybody watched NXT. No, they don't. It's these kind of things. And I'll continue to talk about this. I can't help myself on this part. All right, TNA Against All Odds. Cicero Stadium. And for the show, only caught the main event. So Sami Callihan over Jonathan Gresham. And a quick match, by the way. And Alicia Edwards, Masha Slamovich, Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Again, win over the Hex of Allison Kay and Marty Bell in 8 minutes. Steve Macklin, Mike Santana over the Rascals. I missed that match. And I also missed PCO over Rich Swann, 5 minutes, 50 seconds. When I caught back up, I saw the System and the Nemeth brothers take on each other, and Dirty Dango interrupts in the match, helps out the System, and is working with the System. I guess they don't say he's a part of the System. But we were interesting in the System going to the Hardy compound. They had the whole setup for that. And, they went back to that whole thing again, and just certain things they decided to go and put out as part of that Hardy compound thing. It was kind of weird, but kind of interesting. Frankie Kazarian over Joe Henry. And by the way, people are trying to talk within the fandom of WWE about, which TNA stars are going to be coming over to WWE. And by the way, that's another story we got to talk about as well. Because the talent exchange they're doing right here, it's a bit disappointing. So Jordan Grace goes to NXT for the pay-per-view to take on Roxanne Perez and lose to Roxanne Perez. Meanwhile, Jordan Grace does open challenge for the Knockouts World title at Against All Odds, and TNA gets Tatum Paxley. I'm trying to remember, has she done anything where she's deserved like any title shots at all, or has she done anything at all as of late to build anything up? I mean, I'm trying to figure that out. Like, has she done anything so far in part of her work in NXT? Like, I know they changed her to more like a darker character now these days, but I'm trying to find out what there is here. So, Paxley's been a part of NXT title matches, right? But I think there's nothing else has happened otherwise that, in fact, it was last year that she turned heel. And that's pretty much it. But otherwise, what else has been done more with her? Now they got this darker, brooding characters, and I mean, I don't know, they really didn't give us much in terms of explaining who this, who Tatum Paxley is to the audience, and what they're doing to build with her as of late. They really haven't said much of that either. But, it's been going on now for this year that she's turned into a deranged person, and she was going after Lara Virgilio when she was NXT Women's Champion. But, have they had much of anything that they have said so far? Like, anything to explain the character? Because it just feels like, okay, this is just a darker character. But, give me the comparison between Tatum Paxley and Rosemary. I mean, Rosemary has a long-standing story as to why she's deranged and why she's the way she is for years. Like, I'll tell you like this. Like, if you're going to do something with Tatum Paxley, I mean, if you're going to be giving her, then you want to have her be a part of the tapings coming up now, post All Against All Odds in Chicago. All right, then let's see about, all right, let's go and build her into the inner realm. Let's put her into the dark realm of TNA. Get her involved with Havoc and Rosemary and Masha Slamovich, and, whatever. You can give us that. That's probably not a bad idea. We can go that route. And then you give some brooding, derangement, some, creepy stuff about her and build off of that. Like, let's build, like, maybe TNA could do a little bit of help by helping Tatum Paxley get more of a storyline so she can be built up more. That's not a bad idea. I like that idea a lot, actually, as a matter of fact. And so Mustafa Ali over Trent Seven for the X Division title. They had a great match, by the way. And no one from the campaign for Ali could be at ringside. I think, well, they eventually got kicked out, right? And ABC, Ace Austin, Chris Bay over Eric Young, Josh Alexander. Surprised to see that change of the wins. But, at some point, Ace Austin and Chris Bay have already been with each other for over a year. Are we going to split them up at some point? I mean, or are they going to just stay together? I don't know. I wish there was just something more to it. Moose broken Matt Hardy. 21-minute match. This was also a broken rules match, so it was all different stuff going on when it comes to ladders and tables and all that good stuff. And then when the system beats down Matt Hardy, Joe Henry comes out to try to help and save. Nothing happens because Joe Henry gets pounded down. And then we get Jeff Hardy returning. So he comes out as the Jeff Hardy we all know, as the old Hardy Boys music comes out to help out brother broken Matt Hardy. But yes, Brother Nero, I knew you'd come, and here we go. Do we get the Brother Nero character back? And do we get to get the broken Hardys once again? Is that going to be something that comes back into play? I'm curious. I'd like to go and see that's going to be coming up again. It's kind of nice to see Jeff Hardy back in here. And at the TNA, we get Hardys in TNA. Because, I don't know about you, but I've greatly enjoyed the Hardys in TNA. They're most creative. It was honestly, when the Hardys were kind of getting a little bit, stale. Nobody wants to think that. But they were getting a bit stale. And of course, they had split them up. And that helped out quite a bit for Jeff Hardy for that case. But then Matt Hardy had to find himself. He had to figure out something else, the Matt 1.0 and all these other things he tried to do. Much different. But then Matt Hardy creates this broken character, adds Jeff Hardy into it as Brother Nero. The shit works. I mean, the Hardys were hot again as they evolutionize themselves. Dare I say that it was about as good as, put it like this. So Matt Hardy became like what Scott Steiner was for the Steiner brothers. Scott Steiner found a way to go ahead and reinvent himself. And Big Papa Pump was born. And what a change that made. Rick Steiner never had that part of that. It really wasn't a part of it, really. But, I mean, Steiner brothers, for that base, the career after that, without the singlets, was a different story. But with Matt and Jeff Hardy, same thing goes. When Matt Hardy decided to go this route, go broken, and then add the part with Jeff, kismet. Love it. It was wonderful. And that's the part I really enjoy the most about all this here. So, just a lot of fun. Really enjoy all of it. Wasn't a bad show. And again, no changes to the titles at all. Because it's not what they decided to do. So, no title changes. Shows just, pretty pedestrian, pretty good. But Jeff Hardy returning was a big deal. And that's quite a few veterans they now have on that main roster on TNA. Because look at that. The system very much a super veteran roster. Then you put in there the Hardys. And then you have the Nemesis now with Nick and Ryan together. There's a lot going on. I got quite a bit of star power in there. Significant star power that helps out for that company. Along with the, accompaniment of the standard, rock star TNA stars you've already had. The ones that have been on the way up and been very solid in the way up. Steve Macklin or the Rascals coming back together and, really making a difference again. Rich Swann getting a little bit of a renaissance right now with AJ Francis coming by his side. I like the change they've done to Rich Swann, even though he hasn't been winning yet. Joe Henry, obviously a standout right now. And that's what the WWE fans, the NXT fans, they want to see Joe Henry come into NXT. But see, if Joe Henry goes to NXT, he's probably going to overshadow most of the people in that main roster. Just about most. Maybe not Trick Williams, but most everybody else from the standout. That's the part I see about with that as well. All right, well, that's the show for tonight. Thank you for listening in. Catch you as you always do. And I hope you appreciate I did both pay-per-views and recap them both tonight. So we'll come back and talk about all the fallout from all this Wednesday night on another Wrestling Zero podcast because wrestling needs us.